Okay, we have a 2014 Nissan Altima with the 2.5 liter engine, and they're having AC issues where the compressor is not coming on. When it comes on, the AC gets nice and cold. I did check the refrigerant. It does have plenty of refrigerant in it. These cars have multiple things that can cause issues, one of which is the IPDM. The IPDM is what Nissan calls their Intelligent Power Distribution Module. And it's a little computer. Let me go ahead and snap this thing out of here. It's located right here by the battery. And it's got relays. It's got some fuses in it. That's what it looks like on the back side of it. And it's got the AC relay in it. The ECM, when the ECM is happy with everything else, it energizes the AC relay that's within this box to turn the compressor on. The nice thing that Nissan did allow on these vehicles is a quick and easy way to do a quick test of this box. And this box controls a few things. It controls the wipers, the headlights, the fog lights, I think the horn, and the AC compressor. And there's a quick and easy way you can do a quick test to make sure that that it's working. And if the hood's up, make sure you put a little bit of water on the window, because the wipers are going to come on. And to activate this, now this has got the smart key, so you got to turn the ignition on, which means you push the button twice till the instrument lights up. Now you push your door switch 10 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Ignition off. Then ignition back on. You'll hear the horn honk. That's the first check. The wipers start wiping. When the wipers quit, the fog lights come on. The headlights should come on. Also, your tail lights should be on too. So this is a way you can check all your lights. Now, when the lights quit, you should hear the AC clutch engage 5 times. And I did not hear that. What I did hear was the relay in this box. So what you're hearing now is the fans, and now the wipers are starting again. So what I did hear, let me go ahead and shut the key off. To get it to quit, you just turn the key off, or in this case, going to push the button. What I did hear was the relay in this box clicking 5 times, but the clutch did not come on. Now, this is the connector, and then this pin right here, pin 56, is the wire that goes out to the compressor. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to unplug this plug, and I'm going to put power to 56 and see if the compressor comes on. If the compressor comes on, the wire from 56 all the way to the compressor is good. And it means that the relay, even though it's clicking, is not putting power out to 56 to engage the compressor. That's my suspicion. These do go bad. You obviously want to make sure you got power to it and everything. Of course, everything's working, so I know there's power to it. So my next step is I'm going to unplug this connector. I'll show you that whenever I get set up with the wire to put power to it, and we're going to see if the compressor will engage by jumping 56 on connector F83, which is this connector right here. And if the compressor comes on, I'm going to go ahead and hook the scan tool to it, and I'm going to check a couple other things, but I'm going to probably end up having to order one of these IPDMs. So let me get set up to do that check. Alright guys, so I've got the IPDM out. I've got my test light back probed into the blue wire. What I'm going to do, I've got my test light grounded, and we're going to activate the IPDM test again, and we're going to see if that test light lights up. So I'm going to turn the ignition on. Button 10 times. Ignition off. Ignition back on. Horn will honk. Wipers will wipe. And here in a minute, we'll hear this clicking, or should. Right now the fog lights, it should happen I think right after the headlights. The lights stay on I think for 5 seconds. Actually I think the headlights flash 5 times. The fog lights stay on for 5 seconds. And there is no clutch engagement. And then there goes the fans. So, key back off, door shut. My next step is you got a connector down there going to the clutch. I want to pull that connector off and see what's going on. Obviously, this is a straight wire per the diagram. This blue wire runs straight to the compressor. There is no other connectors, so it goes straight to that connector right there. So let me get these connectors off so that I can take a look at them, and we'll see if we got power and ground. Okay, got the connector off. This is the connector that goes to the clutch. This one here is for the control valve. We don't care about that one right now. And it looks like those pins are burnt. And I don't know if you're going to be able to see how that connects, but you see the little pigtail coming off of the clutch, and then it runs up and it's attached to the compressor body, and that's where this connector plugs into. Then you got the gray connector, that is the control valve connector. We care about this black connector right here. And it looks like those pins are burnt. So, let me do this. Okay, I'm connected to power right now with my test light. Let's see if we've got ground. Oh, it should be the back. Yeah, black wire should be ground. We are grounded. So there's the blue wire. I'm going to activate that test again, and we're going to see if the test light lights up. I'm going to go back to ground. And then we're going to see if whenever we get our 5 clicks for the compressor, we're going to see if we get power right there. If we do have power to that connector's bad. Key on. Ten pushes. Key off. Key back on. So you'd want to do this test, you know, if your wipers wasn't working, if your lights wasn't working, fog lights, your fans, you'd want to do this test to see if that IPDM is bad. I'm going to just back probe it. It's the headlights. So we're getting power to that connector. So just by looking at that connector, I'm gonna have to say that that connector's bad, and I think what I'm gonna do is, since that's a pigtail, I'm gonna disconnect that connector that's right there on the front of the compressor. If you can see the one I'm talking about. And then I'm just gonna cut this connector off, splice it on, and eliminate this connector altogether. And hopefully that fixes this problem. So let me get that. I'm going to get that connector off, and we're going to take a look at doing that. Okay, so I got the little pigtail off, and I'm looking down in there, and I know you're probably not going to be able to see it, but those pins are black. They're carboned up. They've been arcing. So what I'm going to do now, if you notice, the wires on here is black and red. I've already mated it together to make sure that the black went to black, and it does. You got black and blue on this side, black and red on this side, so the black goes to black. So I'm gonna cut this connector off, and we're splicing it straight onto it. We're gonna eliminate this problem. So I'll get set up. I'll show you the connectors I'm gonna use, and then we'll go from there. Okay, so I got these already, got the connectors cut off, got the wires stripped. The connectors, or the splices that we're going to use, are called environmental splices. They're an aviation style splice. This is the actual splice here, and then you put that sleeve over it and melt it down, and it environmentally seals it. It does take a special crimper to be able to crimp these. And the way I like to do it is I'm going to go ahead and crimp. So I got the crimp in there. That one's crimped. You got to use the appropriate size. Now once you crimp the first side, the next step is not forgetting to put the sleeves on. So remember, we got to go black to black. Now at this point, so I've got it in there. I'm on the black wire. I'm going to put the black wire in the hole. Same thing here. Two solid crimps. Put the sleeve on. Now this automotive wire, you've got to be kind of careful because it melts a lot quicker than aviation wire. Let me get my heat gun. Okay, got the heat gun here. We're going to set the temp about 780. Should work. You want to make sure your sleeves are right where you want them. And if I didn't mention it already, the automotive wire will melt a lot sooner than aviation wire, so you've got to be careful about that. Otherwise, it'll start scorching the insulation on the wires. Don't use a match. You can't control how much heat a match has. And if I had my little, I don't have the adapter for this, for doing wire. If I had my adapter, I'd be able to more precisely aim the heat where it needs to go. So just blowing the heat straight out of the end here isn't the best way to do it. You can see how the ends are melting down. I don't know if there's wax. I'm not sure exactly what the stuff is, but there's something in it that melts and seals the wire off completely so that water and debris doesn't penetrate it. And you can see how nice and small it makes the wire. It's almost the same size as the wire was. It's a very small, compact splice. Hopefully you can see that all right. You can melt these down just a little bit more, but I hate to put too much heat on it because I know that this insulation on these car wires will not take it. So now I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to wrap that with black tape just to give it a more factory look, and then we're going to plug it in and see if that fixes it. Okay, there's the final product. Let me get this plugged back in. We're going to do the test again on the IPDM. I'll plug back up. Make sure the wires don't rub on anything. Let's go ahead and car on. Ten pushes, car off, car back on. I did have to take this little shroud off. I didn't show that. I took that off. Just two 10mm bolts. Okay, there goes the lights. So it should be right after the lights. You should hear the compressor engage 5 times. That looks like it fixed it. So there you have it. It was not the IPDM after all. I honestly thought it was going to be, but as it turned out, luckily, it was just a bad connector. So if you've got one of these cars and you're having intermittent AC problems, or the AC is not working at all and the compressor's not coming on, do a quick check of the IPDM by doing the test I just showed, and then suspect the connector. Get to that connector. If you take it off and you see burnt pins, and I don't know how well that's showing up for you. It doesn't, I mean, I can't see it through the camera, but I mean, you could clearly see those pins are just burnt. They're little tiny pins. The pins on the other side, I don't think I showed you that, but the pins on that connector that plug straight to the compressor look perfect. They're actually a bigger gauge pin, and they look brand new. So I think that connector is going to be able to carry the load no problem. This connector is just a little weak for the job. Anyway, I'm going to put this cover back on. In fact, let me just kind of show you real quick how that goes. You're just going to plug right in there. So what's the easiest way to do this? And these go right down there. Okay. I didn't have as much problem. Okay, there we go. Off camera, it just slid right off. Of course, when I'm holding the camera, it's got to be complicated. There you go. And then we'll zip that bolt in there. This one's kind of underneath this, but it's flexible enough to where you can actually get it out without having to pull, you know, this cover off. I don't know if you see what I'm saying, but this moves enough to where you can get on it. And what I used was the old rigid. And that's on. Again, it's a 2014 Nissan Altima. Any Nissan that's got that type of connector, I'd suspect, would be a problem. A lot of the Nissans, it doesn't even have to be an Altima for you to be able to do this IPDM test. A lot of Nissans have got that. If yours has that, try that test. You're not going to hurt nothing. Key on, push the button, the door switch button 10 times, key off, key back on. And you should hear the horn honk, and then the lights and wipers and all that good stuff start working. But anyway, you guys take care.